Hi guys, it's Nunu, and I would like to discuss Thought Journal 2 for weeks 1 and 2 with you, the scientific method, 1,500 words, 120 points. We are going to use the 5 general steps of the scientific method in order to determine whether Adolf Hitler murdered his niece, Angela Gelly-Robal. Okay, we're going to try to come to some kind of determination. Now you may be thinking, you're going to use the scientific method to determine if Hitler murdered his niece Gelly? How is that possible? Maybe in the past you've used the scientific method in school and you've used it simply to think about things you think of as scientific, such as fruit, how fast does fruit rot? But we can apply the scientific method to people, not just quote unquote scientific topics. Why is that? The scientific method is based on inductive reasoning, which is an examination of all available information about a topic to come to a logical conclusion about the topic. So we examine all information about a topic to come to a logical conclusion about the topic. Now, inductive reasoning is thought of as bottom-up logic. The conclusion about a topic, the bottom of an argument, its endpoint, is determined by an examination of all information used to form the conclusion. So how are we going to use the scientific method? Well, I have a description of it here in case you're unfamiliar with it. And I also have an example here. So I would start with a question if I'm using the scientific method. Did Hitler murder his niece Gelly? I have a hypothesis, a possible answer. Hitler murdered Gelly. And then I would test the hypothesis inductively by asking and answering questions. And I have a whole list of questions here, or not really a list, a bunch of questions that you can ask, and I hope you'll add to these questions. Now, when I test the hypothesis, did Hitler murder Gelly, I really am testing it. I don't want to come up with a preconception, which is a misconception. A preconception is a pre-made conclusion. Hitler murdered Gelly. I'm not testing the hypothesis to try to prove that Hitler murdered Gelly. I'm not a lawyer in court trying to prove that this guy was guilty of the murder of his niece. I'm trying to engage in a discovery process by testing the hypothesis. Okay, so read these directions very, very, very carefully. Okay, I think this is a good way, a fun way. When I use the word fun, it's actually maybe an inappropriate word because this is a tragic story about Angela Gelly-Robal, the story of this young girl who was Hitler's niece, the daughter of his half-sister. Certainly, this is an interesting way to employ the scientific method to engage in inductive thought. Okay, so read these directions very, very carefully, and you're going to engage in the scientific method during this week, and next week you will respond to 4 peers postings by 11:59 p.m. on Friday, which is week 2. So you're going to evaluate their thought process if they used inductive reasoning correctly to engage in a discovery process regarding whether or not Hitler murdered Gelly. They don't want to come to any preconceptions. Again, we're not trying to prove Hitler murdered Gelly. We're trying to determine if we can make a judgment about whether or not Hitler murdered Gelly. Okay, so this is our assignment. It takes place during 2 weeks, weeks 1 and 2. Please participate actively during each week. Do not participate at the end of week 2. You need to begin immediately. And of course, if you have any questions or concerns, I'm here in the inbox. All right, let's get started.